guys, it's Dad from Be Mommy with Style, and we are back from our Disney vacation, our most recent one in 2020, and I wanted to share a few more Disney videos. So today we're going to talk about something that I've talked about in the comments quite a bit, but I don't think I've ever done a video on it. And I mentioned it in our review that we were starting to have discussions about DVC, which is Disney Vacation Club. And I know a number of you are members, and especially in my early videos, people don't ask quite as often as they do, but everyone used to ask in early videos, like, do you do DVC and are you a DVC member? And a lot of times, like, kind of explaining the math behind it gets really, really confusing. So I thought today I would talk about, as a Disney fan, DVC and the kind of pros and cons behind it from my view, obviously not being a member yet, and also kind of share how we are basing our decision in case that can be helpful for any of you. Because you guys know that we are hardcore Disney fans, we love Disney vacations, and we're planning on continuing going to Walt Disney World and other Disney destinations. So that begs the question, why haven't we already done DVC? So there's a number of factors that go into it, and I wanted to chat a little bit about that today in case this could be helpful, and also talk about kind of what we have in mind for the future. So in my most recent review video for our trip that we just took in fall 2020, I kind of alluded to the fact that we're starting to talk about DVC and what it looks like for the future for our family. Now, obviously, the earlier that you buy, it is a timeshare, and the price does just continue to keep going up. So if we would have purchased a DVC membership 5 years ago, not only could we have been using it for the past 5 years, but the price would have been substantially lower. And as of the time that I'm making this video, they actually just quote unquote raised the price again. And by raising the price, it may not necessarily just be the cost per purchase, but they actually have just raised the minimum amount of points that you can buy directly from Disney Vacation Club to become a member. So essentially that increases the cost of admission, for lack of a better word. But I wanted to kind of go over some of the considerations that we have been looking at, kind of talk about what our personal family, what we kind of think our ideal timeline would be, and just kind of open up the discussion because I'm interested to hear your feedback as well. I know a lot of you are DVC members, and especially if you became a member 5 or 10 years ago and it was considerably cheaper, you probably have definitely got your money's worth. So let me talk about getting your money's worth first of all before we even talk about the cost. So I literally had to sit down with the computer open to YouTube and figure out all of these dates, which we were wanting to do this anyhow above and beyond figuring it out for DVC, but we were trying to figure out how many times the kids have gone to Disney World. So this is a list of all the times that we have gone to Disney World as a family. Now there is one trip a little bit earlier when Bella was a baby and Natalie was not here yet that we went, but as a family of 4 starting out, we went twice in 2014 in the spring and the fall. In 2015, I had a solo trip. I went to the All-Star Creators Conference in January or February on my own, and then we went as a family in the fall, and we did Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party in 2014 and 2015. Does not seem like it's been that long. That's why I wanted to go this year, because it's actually been a couple years since we went. We went on Halloween night, both of those years. Highly recommend it. It was amazing. So cool to see the kids trick-or-treating inside Magic Kingdom. Anyhow, in 2016, we had 3 Disney vacations that year. There was 2 family vacations, one to Walt Disney World in the spring, one to Walt Disney World in the fall, and we went on a cruise in August of that year. And I want to kind of get into the discussion just a little bit about the difference of like a media or a conference trip versus like our own family trips that we're taking. Because obviously we share them across the board. And I do put, you know, the disclaimer in the description and talk about, obviously, if you can tell we're there for a conference, then we're there for an event. The difference between those types of events and a vacation that we have booked on our own is that if we're going to those events, our itinerary is set where we are staying is picked not by us, and it's pretty much the trip is planned out for us outside of our control. So if you are DVC or have an annual pass or any of those types of things, it would not affect that itinerary or that trip at all. So whether we were DVC or not, if we went to one of those conference trips or one of those things, it is a separate thing. It does not go in with that. So as many of these trips that are on here, I felt like it was important to clarify, we only actually have gone to Disney World twice, 2 times in a year, I think, on our own, where one of them was not a conference or some other type of event. So actually, for as many of the years that are on here where we do have multiple trips, 2014 and 2016 are the only years that we have 2 trips in a year that we did as a family. And there was a cruise on here, but that was a media event. So once you get down into 2017, we did Disney Social Media Moms. That was an event with a pre-planned itinerary. We did go in the fall that year. We did Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. It wasn't on Halloween, but it was in October. So fun. And that was the last time we did Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. So it's been 3 years now. We're due. It's time. Then in February that following year in 2018, we went to Disney Social Media Moms. Again, that is an event where it's pre-planned and all of the itinerary, where we stay and everything is planned for us. We did have one family trip that summer. That's when we went to Animal Kingdom Lodge. 2019, we went once. We went to Port Orleans Riverside in the Princess Rooms that time. And then in 2020, we've gone to the Disney Creator Celebration, which again is one of those events where it has an itinerary and it's planned. And then we just stayed at Pop. So for most intents and purposes, for this list, we have gone at least once a year for the past 6 years on a family vacation that we have planned on our own. And the 2 years that we had 2 that we planned, one was 2014 when Natalie was still under age 3 for both of those. So she got in free, which was great. And then 2016, we had a number of great trips that year. So I thought it was important to make that clarification because when we're looking at DVC, although you see us go more often, we're really basing it on right now going about once a year on a planned from our side Disney family vacation. However, we can anticipate that that's going to continue because that's definitely a factor that you want to take into it, is how long you plan on taking Disney resort vacations, and not just at Walt Disney World, but any Disney location, but also what your frequency would be, how many days you would stay on property. And so I really see, like, as the kids get older, us going from more of those trips where we want like these super like character immersed environments. I talked a bit about it in the Pop review where the kids really love like the resorts that have those big huge characters and like you just really feel like you're at Disney the whole time, to charting to change to one of those trips where it's more relaxation. We may be there for a bit longer. We may have days where we're just hanging out at the resort and not going to the theme parks. And I see as the kids kind of transition and become tweens and teens, those start to be trips where I think we're going to be taking those types of trips more often. And I think those types of trips lend themselves to DVC really, really well. A big difference with DVC as compared to a regular hotel room. When you think about a regular hotel room, you've got a few beds in there, you maybe a small fridge, a coffee maker. But the DVC rooms, when we stayed at Riviera, that was a DVC room. It has a bedroom, it's got a kitchenette, it's got a table where you can sit and eat, it's got a dedicated hangout space. So you really get a different type of space when you're DVC too. So I really feel like you utilize that space differently than if you're just coming in and plunking down at the end of the night and it's just kind of a quick in and out type of trip. So that's a consideration that we've definitely taken into account, is how we want to use where we are staying, how long we're going to be doing it, how many times a year we would be going on our own. And then obviously cost is a big factor, because when you're buying one Disney vacation at a single time, you're just laying down that amount at a time. We are very big on the idea that if this is something we would do, we would not be doing any sort of financing. Like, it's just, you literally just buy it. There are monthly fees that I'm sure you could probably pay yearly, but they're maintenance fees, and you can't really get away from that aspect of like adding in monthly payment or some sort of like additional, payment that you'd have monthly. We're just not real big on adding things like that. But the maintenance cost yearly right now would be around $1,200 a year, which is about $100 a month. So you'd be taking that on in addition to the cost that it is to buy into DVC. Now, at the time of making this video, they just literally, I think like yesterday, changed the amount of points that you need to buy in to become a member. It's now currently 125 points, an average for the lower end to buy in that works out to about $24,000. And then it goes up from there. It depends on where your home resort is as far as how expensive, how many points you need. You can buy 200 points if you want, but to just become a member right now, buying directly through DVC is 125 points. Roughly about $24,000. There's closing costs, there's special promotions, so it can go up and down, but that's roundabouts what you're looking at. So say you typically spend $3,000 to $4,000 on a single vacation. That's about 6 vacations and it's paid for. Or it probably is about like 7, because when I think like $4,000, it's like a moderate, but that has your tickets rolled in. So when you're DVC, you do still need to get your tickets on your trips. So either buying annual passes or that sort of thing is an additional cost. So long story short, we have run the numbers. We've tried to figure out what would work best for us. Right now, where we're at, we feel like doing the individual trips, especially because we really like just paying for everything outright and not having, you know, that kind of additional amount in any sort of like monthly term. And also this ropes you into some sort of like monthly maintenance fee, which can continue changing. Right now, we feel like it's not the best fit. However, for the future, we can definitely see where it's going to hit the point that those types of trips would be advantageous, and it would be advantageous for us to lay out that amount of money at one time too. And just have then our vacations kind of paid for in the future. We're paying the maintenance fees, and then you still have to obviously pay for all of your food and your ticket costs, which is variable depending on time and inflation and all of that. However, you're like, where you're gonna stay is taken care of then at that point. So I do kind of see the merit behind, if we would have bought in earlier, it would have been cheaper. Do I think we probably would have got our money's worth? Yes. But it's all a consideration of, we definitely wanted to be in a point where we would just be paying for it outright, no monthly payments, nothing like that. And so we have kind of a target date in mind when we feel like that's all gonna balance out to where we are comfortable dropping that amount of money at one time on a vacation essentially. And also when I think that we will probably be transitioning to more that type of vacation where it's, you know, the kids are wanting to hang out more. We're doing pool days, hanging out in the room, maybe making some food in our room one night, which is obviously not something that we do right now. It will be a different type of vacation, but it's set up to be a different type of vacation. And then the nice thing is that you don't just have to use it at one place. There's a number of Disney resorts. You can go to Hilton Head, Alani. You can use it on the cruise line, and so it's flexible. You can save your points, you can bank your points. There's a lot of things that you can do to be flexible and have more smaller vacations throughout the year, or start banking your points and have like one huge blowout vacation. So I think it's a very interesting idea. I'm always kind of on the fence with timeshares. I don't know that really any other timeshare would be, you know, really all that appealing to us. I get the whole like you own it and like you can pass it on to your kids or whatever, and it's for a long term, which is nice. But it is always just the upfront cost. Like I feel like I like having the control of, if it's a vacation that we're fully booking and planning, like I have that control and flexibility to say, I want to spend X amount of money on this vacation and that's it. Now, if you typically stay at a deluxe resort on every single time that you stay, you know, those are maybe like, so I would say on the average, like if you stay at a value family of 4 for about a week, you're looking at like in the $3,000 range, moderate's about $4,000 range, deluxe is $5,000 to $6,000 range for those types of packages. So that would be 4 trips essentially that you would have to take, and then it would be evened out. So you really have to sit down and do the math, and it's Disney math. You really have to do the numbers and all of that. So those are some of the considerations that we've taken into effect. That being said, we're talking about it, we're thinking about it. We would like kind of the COVID situation to kind of calm down a little bit before we made any sort of significant investment like that. So we're kind of thinking ahead to like 2022 to see if like that would be a good time to really start thinking about it, considering it. Hopefully the price doesn't continue to skyrocket. But really, the price, the amount of points changing is not really the price changing. It's just the level of which you have to buy in has gone up a little bit. But 125 points still gets you, you know, a really decently long trip. And we probably would have considered buying around that level anyways. So for us, as long as it doesn't hit like the 200 point level, then it's probably getting a little extreme, and I don't even know if we would get our money's worth at that point. And we go to Disney a lot. So it's all about sitting and doing the math, figuring out what would work best for you. And we have a lot of friends. I mean, we've been through like by proxy, like, you know, a lot of DVC conversations with friends that are DVC. And just for us, sitting and looking and seeing that really we go about once a year on a trip that we are planning and kind of stewarding. We've been twice a year, a number of years in a row. But for the events, if you go to one of these events, it doesn't matter whether you have an annual pass, it doesn't matter whether you're DVC, those events are all pre-planned and set for you. None of that would change, you know, even if you had these extra things. So this really is something that we're kind of thinking ahead for the future and trying to figure out what would be the best fit for us. We know we're going to keep vacationing on Disney properties. We know that it's a really good fit for us. We love that we know what we can expect. We love that it's really easy to set an itinerary, and it just works really well for our family. So that's kind of our thoughts on it. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts if you have been kind of thinking about this for a while and kind of thinking and planning. And I think that there is a lot of pros and cons. I guess we're still trying to like talk ourselves into it. We just really hate laying out that kind of money all at one time. Like it's a lot easier to digest, like just dropping like $4,000 at a time. And then you know, you can still play with the other amount that you have in savings or whatever you have it in. So, yeah, I'd be interested in hearing if you decided to do DVC, what kind of, I guess, got you over the hump to decide to do it. And we'll fill you in on future videos, but where we're at right now is we need the COVID situation to calm down a little bit. We know that we're going to continue vacationing at Disney properties and then just trying to make the best decision going forwards for our family. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.